Yo dude, this is Blake from Green Knuckles Across. On this week's Fogo Friday, we are going over what shafts are best for face-offs. I don't know why I have this pen. We will be going over what kind of shaft gives you the biggest advantage when facing off. Nothing too excited in this video. It's not going to be very long. It's just I get asked this a lot of times. Pretty much every day I get asked which shaft I use. So I will be covering which shafts I use and why I use them. Let's get started. So there will be a few things that decide which shaft is supposedly better for you for face-offs. And those are the shape of the shaft, the weight of the shaft, the durability, and the added grip. We're going to go over the added grip one first because it's definitely the most controversial part about these shafts, specifically for face-offs. Some shafts are out there on the market right now that claim to be face-off specific because they are colored differently at the top portion of the shaft and they have an added adhesive sprayed on top of it. Although that is great, I absolutely love the concept, I love the idea. Supposedly the rulebook says that you have to have 6 inches of colored cloth tape at the top of the stick. No matter what color the top of the shaft is or what kind of adhesive they spray on top, it's going to have to get taped over anyway, so that doesn't really give you any sort of advantage during face-offs. Now, some refs might not pick up on the fact that it is not cloth tape and they might let you get away with it, but chances are you're probably going to end up having to tape over it. So in my mind, any shaft that has a different color at the top portion and has some sort of adhesive on it, it doesn't make any difference between that shaft and a normal midfield shaft when it comes to facing off. Next is the shape of the shaft. So when purchasing a lacrosse shaft, they usually come in 2 different shapes. First one is your traditional octagonal shape where all these sides are just flat and they are not curved at all. They're just flat. Then your second option is going to be the same exact shape except the sides are concave. So you might be asking yourself which one is going to be better for me for face-offs. Look at it this way. If you close your hand when you're facing off, okay, let's just say this is my hand on the shaft, the natural shape of your hand is going to be somewhere between a circle and an octagon, okay? We can all agree on that. And in order to have a better grip on your shaft, you need to have more friction. And in order to have more friction, you need to have more surface area. When I have my hand like this, the ideal shaft would cover the entire inside of my hand to equal more surface area, which is more friction, which is better grip. If you look at both of these shafts, okay, whoa, jeez. It's kind of obvious to see which one your hand is going to wrap around easier, and it's definitely going to be your standard traditional shape. You can even see it right here, like how there's gaps in between the shaft and my hand, versus here where the gaps aren't as drastic. And yes, I know there's very little difference between both shafts when it comes to actually wrapping your hand around it, but anything helps, and theoretically, like I said, the more area that your hand comes in contact with the shaft, the better friction and grip you're going to have on the actual shaft. And honestly, I personally haven't noticed a huge difference between a shaft like this with the super concave shape. It's a very slight difference between 2 shafts, and personally it doesn't really affect how I face off. But the part that I think will throw off your face off game is if the shaft isn't somewhat identical to the normal shape of an octagon. If it's anything less than an octagon, let's say a square or a triangle, ideally on paper, it's not going to be that great as far as a good grip for facing off. This is probably the most extreme shape I'll go in terms of something not being the traditional octagon shape. I've never used anything more drastic than this shaft in terms of it being concave, but I can't imagine anything more than this being helpful when facing off. So this is about as extreme I go. From this up to the traditional octagonal shape would be my ideal shaft shape. Alright, next is the weights of the shafts. When facing off, lighter is faster, so the lighter your entire stick is, the faster you're going to be. Every gram counts, it all adds up. I'm not saying just your shaft, I'm saying your shaft, your head, your mesh, your tape, everything adds up, so it definitely helps to have a lighter shaft to kind of take away the bulk of the weight of the entire stick. I love the weight of the Surgeon. This thing is ridiculously light. So when it comes to weight, just get the lightest shaft you can find. Alright, next is durability. Now this one, a lot of people kind of get confused about when I say you need to have a light shaft, because usually the lighter the shaft, the less durable it's going to be. And people are always telling me, oh, well, you need a very durable shaft when you face off because you're always getting checked on the ground balls and blah, blah, blah. You just need a durable shaft. When I face off, the durability in my shaft is the last thing I am worried about. All shafts break. They're going to snap in half. They're going to bend. They're going to get dings in them. Sure, it's nice to have a somewhat durable shaft, but when it comes to facing off, it has no relevance and will not help you during your face-offs. And the last and final thing that I forgot to mention is the price of the shaft. So the most I've ever spent on a shaft is $79. And that was on this shaft. That was on the STX Surge, and Scandium. From that day on, I had never spent more than $79 on a shaft, let alone anywhere close to that amount of money on a shaft. I either buy all my shafts used off a sideline swap, I buy them through teammates for super cheap, I find them on discount somewhere. I never buy brand new shafts anymore, or at least at the retailed price. Why? Because they break. I mean, they're going to break anyway. I'm not going to pay $150 for a shaft that's going to break when I can just buy 5 of these, which I got this one for 30 bucks. I can get 5 of these for the price of 1. Or when my D-poles on my team, they either snap their shafts or they bend somewhere at the top of the stick, you can cut it right in half and just use that bottom portion where it's totally fine and use that as a shaft because they're not going to want that stick anymore. Bottom line is you shouldn't be spending too much money on your shaft. What I like to do is I look for the lightest and the cheapest shaft I can find. I make sure that I buy that shaft at $50 or less. That is my limit. One of my favorite shafts for the price and weight is the Warrior Kryptonite. You can find those anywhere for under $50 on Sideline Swap or eBay or anywhere. They're super light shafts. They are super cheap and they have a great traditional shape to them, and I just absolutely love those shafts. So yes, I would say that the Warrior Kryptonite fits all of my needs when it comes to the best face-off shaft for me. But I'm also not complaining of all these shafts. You know, I got these for $30, $20 free. So the next time you're out looking for a shaft for face-offs, just narrow it down to 2 things: the price and the weight. And that wraps up for this week's Fogo Friday. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any further questions on the shafts I use for face-offs, or any questions in general, be sure to leave a comment down in the comment section below. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and if you haven't already, check us out on Instagram at Gray Knuckles Lacrosse. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next week. Till then, kids, get 'em dirty.